Good day. Today I am going to talk about another basic concept in language competence: sentence unity and coherence. Now, as I've always stressed, we need to give importance to these basic competencies because these would serve as fundamental skills one needs in order to progress to much difficult, much complex tasks such as writing paragraphs and eventually writing compositions, be it a short essay or a full thesis. These complex tasks could be done easily once the basics have been mastered. You need to remember that unity and coherence as elements of effective writing should not be only observed in the sentence level, but also in the paragraph and composition level. So, without further ado, let's begin with the discussion. Let's start by defining what unity is. A sentence, a paragraph, and a composition has unity if it expresses only one main idea. When we say it only expresses one main idea, it simply means we're only talking about one thing and one thing alone. You should not be wandering off your topic because this might confuse your readers. Now, there are a couple of things that you can follow to make sure that your sentence has unity. There we have consistent use of tenses, consistent use of number, consistent use of persons of pronouns, consistent use of subject, consistent use of voice, and consistent use of language. Now, since further discussions and examples on these are provided in Lesson 1 of Module 2, I will only give you an overview. Now, when we say consistent use of tenses, we have to make sure that when we're talking about something that happened in the past, we only use the past tense of the verb. The same thing goes when we're talking about something that will happen in the future. We have to consistently use the future tense of the verb. Now, there are times when shifts in tenses can be unavoidable. This is acceptable, but only use this when there is a call for such. We also have consistent use of number. We learned that nouns, pronouns, and verbs have number. They're either singular or plural. So you have to make sure that the number that you use in your sentences and in your paragraphs are consistent. We also have consistent use of persons of pronouns. We know that pronouns are used to substitute for nouns to avoid redundancy. Now you have to make sure that the pronoun that you use to substitute for your noun should be the correct pronoun. If it's a singular noun, then you substitute it with a singular pronoun. If it's a plural noun, then you substitute it with a plural pronoun. We also have to be consistent in our use of the subject. Now, if you remember our discussion on subject and predicate, the subject is the one being talked about in the sentence. You have to make sure that you don't lose your focus on the subject. Losing your focus on the subject would make your readers wonder what you're talking about. We also have to be consistent in our use of voice. Now, when it comes to verbs, there are two voices, the active voice and the passive voice. In writing, the active voice is more preferred than the passive voice because this gives more emphasis in the doer of the action. Now, you have to make sure that you don't just shift the voice of your verb. And then lastly, you have to be consistent in the use of language. If you start your essay or your paragraph using the English language, you have to make sure that all throughout your paragraph or your essay, you use the English language. If you're writing in Filipino, then you have to make sure that you write in full Filipino. Never ever write in Taglish. Never ever mix your languages when it comes to writing and even in speaking. This would make your piece look informal. Now, if it's an academic writing, we have to follow the formal register. So if you started using Filipino language, then use it consistently. If you start using the English language, then you have to use it consistently all throughout your essay. Now, to sum it up, when we say unity, the key word is consistency. Now we move to sentence coherence. Sentence coherence means putting ideas in logical order, showing their relationship with one another. The sentence elements should be in proper word order. Coherence is achieved when sentences and ideas are connected and flow together smoothly. Now, when you're writing a paragraph, it is a basic concept, a basic idea that it is made up of multiple sentences. Now, each of these sentences might have different ideas, but even so, they are still talking about one bigger idea. And since you're talking about one big idea, the sentences that you use in your paragraph and in your composition should flow smoothly. Now, how do we secure that? Here are a couple of tips on how we do that. 1. Use repetition to link ideas, sentences, and paragraphs. Number 2, and probably the most important tip, use transitional expressions to link ideas, sentences, and paragraphs. You can also use pronouns to link sentences, use synonyms to link ideas and create variety, and use parallel structures to link ideas, sentences, and paragraphs. Now, as I've said, further discussion and examples on this are provided in Lesson 1 under Module 2. Now, if we take a look at the content of Lesson 1, Module 2, this is what you will find. Okay, so what we have here is a full discussion of sentence unity and coherence. If we browse over it, you would see definitions of sentence unity and coherence and some samples on how you can achieve sentence unity. Consistent use of tenses, plus example, consistent use of number, plus example. We also have discussions here on sentence coherence. So we have the definition and the tips on how you can achieve coherence in your sentences, paragraphs, and compositions. Don't forget to read the content of your module. Again, these video lectures could not substitute for the contents of your lessons. These are only made as supplementary materials. After you're done reading, right, make sure that you answer the self-assessment provided in the module. These self-assessment exercises are put there so you can practice what you've learned in these lessons. We've also provided answer keys so you can check whether your answers are wrong or right. So that's it for now. I'll see you again next lesson. Goodbye.